The jungle never welcomed outsiders. It consumed them. For the Australian SAS, that was not a problem to overcome. It was an advantage to be exploited. Their war did not begin with the thump of rotor blades or boots hitting Vietnamese soil. It began in sterile planning rooms, cooled by air conditioning and lit by fluorescent lights, where maps were marked, routes debated, and contingencies drilled into muscle memory. Everything there was ordered, predictable, controlled. The jungle was none of those things. It was wet, choking, alive, and hostile. And once a patrol crossed the line of departure, control vanished. From that moment on, discipline mattered more than courage, and silence mattered more than firepower. In SAS patrol was small 4 to 6 men at most. No platoons. No reinforcements nearby. Just a handful of soldiers carrying days' worth of food, water, ammunition, radios, explosives, and medical gear. Operating deep behind enemy lines where extraction was never guaranteed, they moved in single file. Each man spaced 5 to 10 meters apart, depending on terrain. Too close, and a single burst could wipe them out. Too far, and signals were lost. Spacing was law. Silence was survival. In Vietnam's jungle, sound behaved unnaturally. A snapped twig could travel farther than speech. Loose metal, clinking gear, heavy breathing, any of it could betray a patrol. The SAS taped every buckle, wrapped cloth around canteens, checked weapons obsessively. Nothing was allowed to rattle. Nothing was left to chance. Before stepping into hostile ground, the patrol leader would lock eyes with each man and ask a simple question. You ready? It wasn't about equipment. It was about mindset. Because once inside the green world, every movement carried, meaning the jungle hit them instantly. Heat, humidity, and an endless wall of vegetation closed in. Leeches climbed boots. Sweat-soaked uniforms within minutes. The ground was slick and uneven, but the patrol never rushed. They had trained for months to move like this. Weight shifted carefully, feet placed deliberately, branches avoided before they could snap. Each man had a role. The point man searched for tripwires, disturbed earth, fresh tracks. The patrol commander behind him managed direction and tempo. The radio operator carried the heaviest load, batteries digging into his shoulders. The rear man scanned constantly, checking for shadows that didn't belong. What held them together wasn't shouting or commands. It was trust. In the jungle, visibility was measured in meters. Sometimes the man ahead was only a blur. Sometimes he vanished entirely into foliage. You kept moving anyway, trusting he was still there. That trust came from shared hardship, long training cycles, and previous missions where mistakes had consequences. Hours passed in near silence. Smells mattered as much as sight. A faint trace of cigarette smoke could mean enemy scouts nearby. Sudden bird silence could signal movement. The SAS didn't just walk through the jungle, they read it. This was why Viet Cong scouts treated SAS patrol areas with extreme caution. The VC knew the jungle intimately. They moved barefoot, fast, and light. But the Australians were different. They didn't crash through vegetation or leave careless signs. They blended, and that made them dangerous. One of the most feared SAS techniques was the observation post. Hidden hideouts carved into thick vegetation, firing slits cut carefully, positions occupied for hours or days without movement. VC messengers and patrols often walked past these positions, unaware until gunfire erupted from point-blank range. A captured VC officer later described it simply. The Australians watched like hunters. You could not feel them, but they felt you. The jungle punished everything. Heat drained strength. Mud filled boots. Packs cut into flesh. Every step carried the risk of pits, tripwires, or pressure devices. SAS patrols treated ground like it was armed, because often it was. Progress was slow by design. Sometimes an hour to cover 100 meters. Not weakness. Discipline. By midday, heat forced brief halts. No fires. No unnecessary movement. Sweat was wiped with sleeves. Cloth rustled too loudly. Water was rationed. Radios were checked silently. Maps studied quickly. Mental strain never lifted. Hypervigilance became normal. Fear existed, but it was controlled. Panic was trained out. Fear sharpened awareness. Panic killed. They avoided unnecessary contact. Their mission was intelligence routes, numbers, habits. But sudden contact was always a possibility. One mistake could mean walking into an ambush. Night brought new danger. Mosquitoes swarmed. Sounds multiplied. But SAS routines held. Harbor positions were established, hidden, cold, dark. 2 men awake at all times. Weapons loaded. Packs ready. The VC often moved at night, but not willingly through SAS zones. The Australians had earned a reputation for owning the dark. They relied on senses, not gadgets. That fear alone altered enemy movement. Near midnight, the patrol moved again. Same spacing. Same pace. Same rule: silence first. Each man carried 30 kilos or more. Nobody complained. Complaints made noise. Noise invited death. They were heading toward an area known for VC scout activity. Intelligence suggested enemy reconnaissance teams were probing the zone. The VC scouts were skilled trackers, but they avoided one thing above all: Australian SAS patrol areas. The VC called them ghost soldiers. Stories circulated of vanished patrols, ambushed scouts, and night attacks that came without warning. Not myths, reputations earned by men who lived in the jungle. After an hour, the point man froze. A thin vine stretched across the trail, angled, deliberate. Beneath it, a grenade trap concealed under leaves. Freshly placed. They bypassed it without a sound. Now they weren't just tracking. They were being tested. Silence deepened. Bird life vanished. That kind of quiet meant people. Voices drifted faintly: Vietnamese, calm, professional. 4 to 6 men. Scouts. The SAS waited. Stillness was camouflaged. Minutes passed. Sweat burned eyes. Insects crawled across skin. Nothing moved. The voices faded. Footsteps resumed. The patrol adjusted, shadowing from the flank. Never directly behind. Safer. Smarter. Updates flowed back by whispered radio. Near a shallow creek. The SAS watched 4 VC scouts rest, refill canteens, consult maps. Alert, but not enough. They didn't know they were being observed from 10 meters away. After 15 minutes, the VC moved on. The Australians followed. Dawn arrived, gray and heavy. No sunlight, just humidity and haze. The patrol was already moving. Daylight sharpened enemy senses. One careless movement now could end everything. Fresh tracks appeared. Minutes old. Storm clouds rolled in. Rain hammered the canopy, masking sound but washing away signs. The SAS used it, moving faster under cover of noise. When the rain stopped, silence returned: dangerous silence. Then confirmation. Markers left by scouts. Directional signs. Evidence of a larger force. Late afternoon revealed the truth. A column of 60 or more VC soldiers moving with discipline. Armed, organized. The scouts had led them straight to the main body. The SAS observed, reported, and withdrew barely unseen. Night fell again. The patrol tracked the formation, learning its intent. A dawn movement toward Australian supply routes. An ambush site presented itself, a natural choke point. Claymores were placed. Positions scraped by hand. No sound. Waiting. At first light, the scouts entered the funnel, then the main body. Now, explosions tore through the vanguard. Controlled fire followed short, lethal bursts. 30 seconds. No more. Then silence. Evade. The SAS vanished before the enemy could react. The jungle swallowed them again. By dawn, they were already breaking contact. Confusing trackers, doubling back, crossing water, changing routes. VC scouts hunted, but the Australians stayed ahead. At the extraction zone, enemy troops waited. The patrol adjusted. New LZ. Rotor noise cut through the canopy. Winch down. One man at a time. Gunfire erupted too late. 6 men lifted out of the jungle exhausted. Battered, alive. They had stalked a superior force. Shattered its advance, escaped its trap, and disappeared without trace. That was why the Viet Cong feared the Australian SAS. Not because of numbers, not because of firepower, but because a handful of men could enter the darkest jungle, strike with precision, and vanish like ghosts.